What's up, guys? I'm Bob Tompkins with the Living in SC team at Real Broker, and welcome back to the channel. On today's episode of Living in SC, we are going to be comparing Greenville, South Carolina to Charleston, South Carolina. These are two of the most popular cities in the great state of South Carolina, so if you're exploring a move to the state, these are probably two places that you have on your radar. Now, obviously, if you are thinking about making a move to the state, don't forget to shoot us an email at info@livinginsc.com or give us a call at the number listed below, as we would love to be the resource that helps you with your move. Now, without any further ado, let's get right into comparing Greenville to Charleston. So typically when we hear from people about comparing cities, there are three things that they care about the most, and that is the climate, the commute, and then the average price of homes in the area. So we're gonna hit on all three of those things in this video, and then at the end, I'm gonna share one of my favorite things from each of these two cities, so be sure to stick around to the end to hear all about that. So coming in first, let's talk about the climate. Now, Greenville's climate in the warmer months, in the summer months, tends to top out around 88 degrees, while in Charleston, the summer climate tends to be around 89 degrees. It's only a 1 degree difference in the average highs in these two areas. However, Charleston tends to have warmer evenings during the summer, as their average low temperature is right around 73 degrees, and Greenville is around 67 degrees in the evenings in summer. Now, these are pretty minor differences. In the summer, you're gonna find pretty similar temperatures between Charleston and Greenville. However, the humidity in Charleston is going to be a fair amount higher, as it is a more subtropic type of region, while Greenville is kind of up into the mountains. Not that you have dry air in Greenville, because by no means do you have dry air, but you don't really have that subtropical type of humidity. That being said, Charleston does have the ocean breeze that kind of helps cut that humidity a little bit. But if you're living more inland, let's say 15-20 minutes off the coast, then you don't really get the benefit of that ocean breeze. Now, in the winter, that's when Greenville and Charleston have some pretty stark differences in their weather. Greenville will see average highs around 54 degrees and lows around 33 during the winter, and Charleston will see highs around 60 and lows around 43 degrees in the winter. Now, these are pretty stark. As you can see, it's about a 7 to 10 degree difference depending on which area of the state you're in. But it also does have consequences when you talk about snowfall. In Charleston, you are flat out never going to see snow. In Greenville, the county gets somewhere between 3 to 4 inches of snow every single year. Now, this year we didn't get any, but a lot of times you're gonna see a few inches of snow throughout the course of winter. So if you still want that aspect as a part of your life, Greenville may be the better option for you. But if you want absolutely no snow, then you may wanna look at Charleston as your favorite option. That being said, Greenville is a little bit better for experiencing all 4 seasons, where in Charleston, you really kind of only get 3 seasons. You get summer, fall, and then spring. You may have a wintry day here or there. In Greenville, you're gonna have a solid month, maybe month and a half, of a real winter type of weather. So if you wanna experience all 4 seasons, Greenville definitely offers that, where Charleston kind of eliminates winter, similarly to a Savannah, Georgia, or some of the places in Florida that only really experience 3 seasons. Moving on to the average commutes in both of these cities. Now, in Greenville, the average commute is around 21 minutes, and in Charleston, the average commute is around 26 minutes. Now, when you look at each of these places on a map, you may say Greenville looks a lot more sprawling and wide and spread out, and Charleston seems a little bit more compact. So why is it that the commute in Greenville is actually only about 80% of the commute that Charleston is? Well, there are a couple contributing factors. First and foremost, Charleston has a larger population, and where there are more people, it can be harder to travel around due to some congestions on the roadways. Now, Greenville has a very fast growing population, so commutes have started to become an issue in different areas around Greenville, but the smaller population in comparison to Charleston does contribute to a shorter commute time. The other factor that plays a role in the commute time differences is the geographical layout of each area. Now, in Greenville, you don't have a bunch of islands or waterways that make travel difficult. In fact, you have two interstates, you have 385 and 85 that kind of form a T and they cross over right in the center of Greenville, which actually helps commutes be relatively easy and quick because you're able to jump onto the interstate and move from one part of Greenville to another part or downtown relatively quickly and easily without having to hop across onto a bunch of different roads. Now in Charleston, if you're coming in from the west side, you can jump on I-26 and run right into downtown Charleston. But if you're north around Mount Pleasant or maybe Sullivan's Island, or if you're down south on John's Island or James Island, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to jump from one place to another because you're essentially gonna have to island hop. And when you're island hopping, you have some 2-lane roads, maybe 4-lane roads, that when they get backed up, it can be very difficult to get around any traffic because that road is the road you have to take to jump from a certain island into downtown Charleston, and there's not a lot of other ways that you can travel. So if a commute time is very important to you and you want to spend as much time at home and as little time on the road as possible, Greenville may be a better option for you just based on the ease of commute. Now, that's not a guarantee to stay that way because as I was saying, Greenville is a very fast growing area. So there is a high likelihood that in the coming years, the commute times in Greenville won't remain what they are today. Next up, we have a comparison of the home prices in each of these areas. So when you're making a move to a new area, obviously how much it's going to cost to live there can play a pretty large role in your decision making. And both Greenville and Charleston are two of the more higher priced areas in the state of South Carolina, but they are grossly different in the cost of living. So within Charleston, you actually have an average price point that is around $500,000. Now, if you're moving from another place and you're coming to South Carolina and you're thinking affordability, you may think the average home price is $500,000 in Charleston. That's not very affordable. Well, Charleston isn't that cheap to live in. In fact, it is a pretty expensive city, and $500,000 is the average price point within the city. Comparatively, Greenville has an average price point of $335,000. Both of these prices are from the data on Redfin based on the month of February 2023. But you can see that's a pretty stark difference as Greenville's price point is about 65 to 70% of what Charleston's is. So if you're trying to have your money go further for you, Greenville, you're likely gonna be able to get more bang for your buck when you're searching for a home. Another thing to consider when you're thinking about the average cost of a home in both areas is if you're in Charleston, there is the insurance concern of hurricanes. Now, Charleston has not really been hit hard by hurricanes really since Hurricane Hugo way back in the 1980s, but because it is a coastal region, insurance companies do take exception to that and tend to put a little bit of a premium on your insurance policies, which can increase that cost of living even higher if you're in that area opposed to Greenville. Now, you do have some amenities in Charleston that some people will consider worth paying a little more money for that you don't have in Greenville, most notably the beach. And that is a pretty big one, which actually brings me to my favorite things in each of these cities. So in Charleston, my favorite thing, it's number one on my list, is Folly Beach. Folly Beach is tucked down just a little south of Charleston, and it is one of those beaches that not a ton of people know about. It's less visited than a lot of other beaches in South Carolina like Hilton Head, Edisto, Myrtle Beach. But it is absolutely phenomenal. It kind of has almost like a little Key West vibe, like a small little beach town sort of vibe. Me and my family absolutely love it. In fact, it is where we go vacation at the end of every single summer as a family. So I highly recommend Folly if you're visiting in the Charleston area to go check it out. I firmly believe that it is a beach that you will fall in love with relatively quickly because it's not heavily traveled to. A lot of times you can wake up real early, go down to the beach and actually find some pretty cool shells In fact, there have been some times that we've gone out in the early mornings and found full conch shells, which is pretty hard to do on a lot of beaches nowadays. So what's my favorite thing about Greenville? Well, my number one favorite thing about Greenville is Greenville's downtown. Greenville's downtown can only be described in one word, and that's magical. When you're downtown Greenville, you will find so many people just walking out and about with their dogs, with their families, up and down Main Street. The food scene in Greenville is fantastic, so you see a ton of different patios with patio seating and people just out eating, enjoying their days in downtown Greenville. And of course, downtown kind of culminates itself in Falls Park, which is one of the best small parks in a city center in the United States. And if you don't believe me, you can fight me on that one, because Falls Park is absolutely phenomenal. Built around the waterfall and with the Liberty Bridge. You also have the new Grand Bohemian Hotel that has just been constructed right there in the park. It is just a great place to go and hang out, whether you're gonna have a picnic or just have a stroll. I absolutely love Falls Park and I love downtown Greenville. It is one of the biggest reasons that me and my family have decided to call Greenville home. And if you're looking to make it your home as well, we can absolutely help. Even if that's in Charleston or another area of the state, we have the ability to help you and be a resource anywhere in the state. So if you're thinking about making that move, again, shoot us an email at info@livinginsc.com or give us a call at the number listed below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, check out some of our other videos, and of course, we'll see you next time on Living in South Carolina.